Hello and welcome. I'm Ijoma Onyato. Tonight, President Buhari warned security agencies against the repeat of Chibok and Dapchi school abductions as he received free Dapchi schoolgirls at the presidential villa. A federal high court in Abuja dismisses all charges bordering on money laundering and fraud against the serving Supreme Court Justice Sylvester Nguta. Plateau State reports 300 cases of cholera as disease spreads to 4 local government areas since its outbreak 4 weeks ago. And police kill man who shot dead 3 persons in a series of attacks in southern France.
On business news tonight, internally generated revenue across 36 states hit 931 billion naira in 2017, the highest so far since 2010.
The sports news, Zlatan Ibrahimovic completes his move to LA Galaxy after the MLS club announces the signing of the Swedish striker in typical outspoken fashion.
And from Abuja, federal government calls for support to ensure success of the school feeding program in more states of the federation.
We begin tonight with the president's warning to service chiefs against complacency in the fight against Boko Haram insurgents terrorizing the country's northeast. President Muhammadu Buhari is also promising Nigerians that he'd ensure the return of the remaining Chibok girls and others held captive by the terrorists. President Buhari gave the assurance when he received the 104 Dapchi schoolgirls and 2 others recently released by their abductors at the presidential villa in Abuja. Our correspondent Ibrahim Adra reports.
Dapchi community in the northeast to the presidential villa here in Abuja. They were snatched from their school and held captives for weeks. They're here to see President Muhammadu Buhari, whose administration negotiated their release. Now let's take you to that meeting. There is excitement in the hall. The girls are full of gratitude with a promise to stay faithful to their fatherland.
Afternoon, Your Excellency, and everyone present.
Fatima Bashir, 14, and in JSS 3, spoke on behalf of those released.
On behalf of all of us, we want to thank you for saving our life.
The Department of State Services spearheaded negotiation that led to their freedom. Its head explains why negotiations was the best option.
1, to be able to secure a permanent and possible cessation of hostilities. 2, discussing the fate of arrested insurgents and innocent Nigerian citizens being held hostage. And 3, possibility of granting amnesty to repentant insurgents.
And what were the conditions for the release?
The insurgents' only condition was their demands for cessation of hostilities and a temporary ceasefire.
President Buhari in his remarks thanked everyone who helped in the rescue mission, then sounded a note of warning.
I have tasked all the security agencies to work to ensure that we do not witness any reoccurrence of these incidents. Security chiefs have been warned in clear terms that any lapse on their part will be viewed seriously.
As a permanent solution to the 8-year insurgency in the northeast, the president gave this assurance.
Government is ever ready to accept the unconditional laying down of arms by any member of the Boko Haram group who shows strong commitment in that regard. We are ready to rehabilitate and integrate such repentant members into the larger society.
Besides the 105 Dapchi schoolgirls, there are 2 others aged between 11 and 13. They all looked visibly tired, with most of them said to be suffering from skin infections. 4 others suffered broken limbs. as they prepare to return home to their parents. Those of Leah Sharibu and the remaining Chibok girls will be waiting anxiously for the president to fulfill his promise to do all it takes to free them from their captors. From the presidential villa in Abuja, Ibrahim Adra, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the founder of Complete Care and Aid Foundation, popularly called Mama Boko Haram, has been speaking on her efforts towards securing the release of the Dapchi schoolgirls when they were abducted. Mrs. Aisha Wakil, who spoke exclusively to Channels Television's correspondent in Kano, Idris Jibrin, also gave the assurance that the last Dapchi schoolgirl, Leah Sharibu, still in Boko Haram captivity, will be released. She's hopeful that with the commitment and sincerity on the part of the government, Boko Haram insurgency will be a thing of the past.
They called me and told me they took up the girls. I said, can I tell the world that you, Habib, Nur, took up these girls again, and why on earth did you do this? I said, yes, I can tell the world. And I came up. I told the world that they are the ones. They don't even know who and who took the girls. So when I came up and told the world they are the ones that took the girls, then I started. So how could you do this? My sons, my beloved sons, my dear sons, bring them back home. And let this one not be like 1,000 something days. I hope it's not going to be like that. They told me it's not going to be like that. And I'm under pressure. I keep on begging them. I pleaded from my office, my table, where I was talking to them, phoning, calling. Anything I know I can do to reach them, I do it. I did it. They promised me they're going to release them. I shouldn't bother myself. I shouldn't cry because they know I have very bad high BP. So they're released. I was very happy. I thank them. You're asking me whether I'm not scared. I'm not scared because Almighty Allah is with me. And I'm doing a good job. Prayer and good work. How is that good work? Nigeria should be serious. Government, I'm begging government, let them be serious. Let them echo it out. It's not sit down and say, we need peace, they should drop their arms, they should raise up their hands and come out. They should go down the road. I keep on saying it, go down the road. There are people that love them. There are people they listen to. If they call those people, keep your mouth shut, call those people, which way forward? How do we bring them? You will hear telephone call. They will call them. By the time you know it, they will drop their guns.
To other security matters now, 3 persons have been killed in a recent attack by suspected herdsmen on Ta community of Dong village in Jos, North Local Government area of Plateau State. The village was attacked on Thursday night while residents were at home observing the curfew imposed by the state government. The attack is coming less than 1 week after 5 people were killed in the same village and several houses burnt by the assailants.
Residents of Ta community of Dong village in Jos North Local Government area of Plateau State woke up to the news of yet another attack by suspected herdsmen. 3 of their sons, 2 of whom are brothers, had to pay the big price with their lives while protecting other people of the community as members of the vigilante group. The casualty of the attack would have been more because majority of the residents were at home at the time of the incident in obedience to the dusk to dawn curfew imposed by the state government. Only one of them managed to escape to alert other members of the community. He recounts the unfortunate story.
Two Fulani in our front, one by my side, one by other side. 4 of them. They start shooting from nowhere. And then I asked one of my colleagues, who's that now? He said, it's them that they come, They start shooting, they start following me again, And then the remaining guys, 3 guys, they shoot them, they die.
The arrival of security officers is obviously too late. as few of the residents are already packing their belongings, ready to seek refuge in neighboring communities for fear of more attacks. Others who are not ready to leave, especially the mothers, are protesting against the incessant killings, even as they want government to intervene immediately.
A night that I think I will never forget in my life. A situation whereby, even though we appreciate the security at their response, but then at the scene, at where it is happening, this is where I feel there seems to be lagging behind.
The state deputy governor is also among the early callers. He is here to commiserate with the people while calling for calm.
Government is concerned. The security forces are doing the best they can. The best they can may not give the immediate peace that we have not seen up to now. But one thing I will want to appeal to people of Plateau State is let's have confidence in ourselves. There should be less of, the panicky rumors that go around.
Residents of the community say 5 people were killed in the same village last week. All they're asking for now is improved security so that they can all sleep comfortably with their eyes closed.
To legal matters now, the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja has dismissed all 13 charges of money laundering and passport fraud instituted against the serving Justice of the Supreme Court, Justice Sylvester Nguta, by the federal government. The trial judge, Justice John Toho, dismissed the charges on grounds that the federal government did not meet the conditions precedent before instituting any charges against the judicial officer. Justice Toho hinged his judgment on an earlier ruling delivered by the appeal court in a case filed by Justice Ngajua challenging the competence of the charges filed by the EFCC against him. Justice Nguta is the second judge among the 7 judicial officers discharged and acquitted by the court. Their houses were raided by the operatives of the Department of State Services in October 2016.
This case ought not to come here because the court has no jurisdiction. So we are back to square one. We rest on the presumption of innocence. The law presumes him to be innocent, so he goes on.
The court discharged the defendant, having found that the condition precedent for the invocation of the jurisdiction of the court, according to the court, has not been satisfied. Because in the case of Mangajua versus Federal Republic of Nigeria, what the Court of Appeal says in that case is that before you arraign a judicial officer before a court of law charging him for any corrupt practices and misconduct while in the office, you have to first of all take the matter to the NGC first before arraigning him before the court. So the court says that inasmuch as we didn't take the defendant before the NGC, we did not satisfy the condition present. As such, the court lacks jurisdiction to continue attending to the charge. And that is the basis upon which we were overruled, and the accused person is discharged.
A former minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Jumoke Akinjide, and 2 others facing trial over an alleged 650 million naira fraud are asking Justice Muslim Sule Hassan of the Federal High Court to expunge the evidence of an investigator with the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Usman Zakari, from the court's record. The defendants are opposing the evidence of the witness regarding a meeting convened by a former Minister of Petroleum Resources, Mrs. Dezani Alison Madueke, at her residence on December 2014. They described it as hearsay evidence. While the prosecution counsel, Rotimi Oyedekpo, told the court that the investigator's evidence are as a result of his personal findings in the court of investigation. The witness told the court that the said meeting was attended by Mrs. Alison Madueke, the managing director of the bank, and some oil marketers. He says that the former petroleum minister informed the bank's MD that the oil marketers would be bringing different dollar sums to him, which he instructed the bank chief to help her keep in the bank's vault until further instructions. The trial judge has fixed April the 9th to rule on the contentious issue.